Good afternoon, everybody. It's that time of the day. Join us on the Israel Brief with me, Rivlin Marks, brought to you by Lay of the Land for today's top stories. And it is rather a celebratory day indeed, as we say a fond thank you and farewell to our outgoing President Rivlin as he departs office today after serving us as president for 7 years, and welcome in President-elect Isaac Herzog. And if you thought the British did pomp and circumstance, well, Israel does it too, and we are expecting to swear in our new president a little later today in ceremonies filled with pomp and circumstance and great celebration. But we at Lay of the Land in the Israel Brief wanted to take a moment to thank outgoing President Rivlin for 7 years of extraordinary service, for representing us magnificently on the international stage, for being a great unifier and the consummate mensch. When the president took office, there was a lot of concerns because he came from a more stern and what was seen as hawkish or right-wing background, and many wondered how he would follow in the footsteps of somebody like his predecessor Shimon Peres, who was seen as extremely dovish. But the president has, in his last 7 years serving us, managed to be a great unifier, putting the people first, being a humble civil servant and somebody that really grew in the hearts of Israelis and was referred to as the Saba, or the grandfather of the nation. And we all grieved with him when he lost his wife Nechama while serving in office, and we can't forget how he helped us through lockdown during the first major lockdowns that we had as part of the COVID-19 pandemic, by reading to Israel's children and more than a few adults, myself included. This is how I got to know Shmulik the Hedgehog, and it's all through this president who has become much loved. And as he departs his office today, we just want to say Toda Rabah, Nasi Rivlin. Thank you so much, President Rivlin. We wish you everything of the best going forward, and thank you for being the consummate mensch and the great public servant that you have been. And we also want to extend a warm welcome and bahatzlacha. We wish well our president-elect, who will be our new president as of later today, Isaac Herzog, who comes from an impeccable background. He follows his late father, who served as Israel's 6th president. His uncle was the great Ambassador Abba Eban, one of the greatest orators or speakers Israel has ever had, who represented us at the United Nations. And we also can't forget his grandfather, who became the first Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel, an impeccable heritage, somebody who is greatly admired and respected, and somebody who is expected to bring in the ties or renew and strengthen the ties between Israel and our diaspora communities. And we wish him everything of the best. While we're talking about the United Nations, something quite extraordinary happened earlier today. The UN passed a resolution condemning groups like Hamas, Hezbollah and other terror entities for their use of civilians as human shields. Now, at the United Nations General Assembly, a resolution was put forward as part of the 2006 resolution that takes a look at counter-terrorism globally and is renewed every 2 years. Well, after addressing the plenum of the UNGA, our ambassador to the United Nations, Gilad Erdan, spoke about the situation that Israelis have endured over many conflagrations, and most recently the one that took place in May, known as Operation Guardians of the Wall, or Mivtza Shomer Chomot, which over 4,000 rockets and projectiles were fired from the Gaza Strip within the civilian civilian infrastructure, effectively turning the civilians into human shields. We can't forget that at least 36% of those projectiles and rockets fired towards Israel also landed in the Strip, killing a significant amount of civilians and injuring others. The UN voted to condemn this in this resolution that prioritizes the counter-terror strategies of its member states. And it's one of those resolutions involving Israel we can really get behind. In other news, Defence Minister Benny Gantz has approved the extension of the stay of the IDF's Home Front Command delegation that are in Florida, helping with search and rescue and recovery efforts after the devastating collapse of the Champlain Towers that took place just under 2 weeks ago. Their stay in Florida has been extended by at least another week. And yesterday we brought you the story of Belarus President Lukashenko, who in a ceremony to honor Soviet soldiers who served during World War II made a very, very hurtful and anti-Semitic comment, saying that the Jews, because of the Holocaust, have caused the world to kneel before us. Obviously, he has spent no time on Twitter and he has forgotten the noble action of Soviet troops who liberated, amongst others, the Auschwitz death camp during the Holocaust, or at the end of the Holocaust, which saw the extermination of over 6 million of Europe's Jews. Well, yesterday, Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs not only condemned the statement, but called in Belarus's envoy or ambassador into the ministry for a meeting. We read into that a dressing down. Those are the top stories making headlines in Israel today. Don't forget to join us around about the same time tomorrow for your daily headlines. But if you're looking for some content in the meantime, don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. If you fancy yourself a writer, we would love you to contact us either via our website or through our Facebook page, which you can find at Lottle's site. And if you haven't already, please join our community by liking us and following us. And if you like this content, please share it. And if you like this content, please subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube at the Israel Brief by clicking on the big red subscribe button. And if you just want to have a chat with us or hang out with us on Twitter, we're there as well. You can find us at Lay of the Land with the digit 5. That's Lay of the Land with the digit 5. So with today's edition of the Israel Brief, I'm Rivlin Marks, wishing you a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.